So good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Iowa AmeriCorps VISTA FY19 Recruitment webinar. This webinar is for our current sponsors who will be recruiting for the 2019-2020 program year. As I said earlier, my name is Jancy LaFollette, and I am a program officer with the Corporation for National and Community Service in the Iowa State Office, and will be your facilitator for today's call. The PowerPoint will be available at the end of the session, and the session is being recorded. A link to that recording will be sent out for reference for those of you who have joined today. This session is designed to highlight the FY19 recruitment season that is fast approaching. The webinar is designed to highlight the recruitment changes that you guys can anticipate for 2019 and provide a forum for discussion. So as I said, the lines are open, so we will pause for questions throughout, so feel free to either ask a question verbally through the line or the conversation or chat box, as I like to call it, is open, so feel free to ask questions through that conversation box, and I will be attending to those throughout the session today, so just be mindful of that. The session is not intended to be all-encompassing, so please make sure to take some time to review the additional resources provided on the topics. Those include tutorials, instructions, and other documents that we'll be discussing today. So just so you know, not all-encompassing, going to hit the highlights as we roll through this. Before we begin, just a few housekeeping. As I said, lines are currently open. Make sure you mute us and not place us on hold. We will have time at the end for questions, but make sure that you guys are asking questions throughout. And there will be some additional resources coming. My goal was to get a few things out, updated material to you guys out before the today's call. However, unfortunately, it was not able to get done. I had some senior corps meetings yesterday and they took a little bit more time. Oh, it looks like you guys cannot. Can everybody see the slides? I'm just on the first slide. No, everyone, can you see the Iowa AmeriCorps VISTA FY19 VISTA Recruitment webinar? Interesting. Okay, well, that's cool. Let's see. Let me see what I can do. I'm going to stop presenting and I'm going to try to load that again. Hold on one second, everybody. I apologize for this brief pause as we go through this one more time. All right, it looks like it's loading, so hopefully that will work in our favor. So it reloaded. Did anything pop up for you guys? Yes, no, maybe so. I see folks are typing. All right, here's what we're going to do. I love technology.
Nancy,
yes.
It just says that some presenting features are unavailable due to server connectivity issues. So I don't know if that might be on your end since it's happening to everyone else. But maybe you could just like email us.
That's
could
what
like
I'm doing right now.
Great minds think alike, Nancy.
Yes. I was like, that's what I was doing. Give me 1 second. I'm going to send this out. My apologies, folks. Technology is wonderful when it works with you and not against you. All right, so that just got sent. It's nothing fancy, so you guys should get that momentarily. But we just started on slide 1, and so just a quick overview. So there's nothing really major on that slide to see. Slide 2 is just the agenda. So today we, Justin says that the server got furloughed. Probably. The agenda today is we're going to do a quick overview of Iowa VISTA, VISTA recruitment resources that are available to you, the Iowa VISTA recruitment overview, so kind of our processes here in-house, the virtual member orientation or the VMO, basically the first, how to get your members started, our recruitment timelines, VAD resources, and of course screening tips and tools. These we will all brush upon today, but there will be additional resources provided. So I'm hoping that you guys got that PowerPoint. I'm trying to see, my system says that it was sent, so I'm hoping that that came through for folks into your email inboxes. So again, I apologize for the delay on that. So first, to start with, the Iowa VISTA sponsors, project sponsors for the 2019-2020 program year are listed here on slide 3. We have Shelter House, Iowa Campus Compact, Iowa Commission on Volunteer Service, or Volunteer Iowa, the U.S. Committee for Refugees and Immigrants, University of Northern Iowa's Center for Energy and Environmental Education, City of Bloomfield, Habitat for Humanity of Iowa, Hawkeye Community College, Goodwill Industries of Central Iowa, and the Iowa Department of Public Health. These are the 10 sponsors that we had last year and are rolling into this year. We currently are developing new sponsorship for this year, for the FY19. VISTA headquarters kind of changed our processes a little bit, and so we're actually moving back to a rolling deadline in 2019. So there will be multiple times for folks to apply throughout the year for new sponsorship. So this is not applicable to you guys, but I just wanted to let you know if you run across anyone who might be interested in sponsoring a VISTA program, not a program, a project. I got to make sure I correct myself there, a project. The first deadline is January 14th, but then there will be multiple deadlines for concept papers throughout the year. So this is a little different than what we've done in the past, but I just wanted to make sure that folks are aware of that. So when you get those emails from me that says, hey, we've opened a request for concept paper for FY19, it applies for new project development. And those will be coming throughout the year. So just a heads up on that. We currently do have 10 project sponsors, which is approximately 60 VISTA members on the ground throughout Iowa through these state projects. Some changes that you guys will see and feel in 2019 is our transformation and sustainability plan. The Iowa CSO, so the Corporation State Office, when you guys see that CSO, that stands for Corporation State Office. So that's my office. Myself and Vicki Hover-Williamson are the two who sit here. Dave Parziel was part of our team, and he left in November, actually due to this transformation plan. And so our physical location is actually closing. It's scheduled to close at the end of May. So we actually have to turn over our physical space to GSA, General Services Administration, by June 1st, right in the middle of recruitment. It's fantastic. And so we will be remotely working until the new regional hub is set up in Kansas City. And so our office space and the way CNCS is doing business is changing. Starting in FY19 through 2020, Iowa is lucky enough to be one of the first to actually go through this transformation. And so currently right now, for those of you who are new, CNCS has a state office, so an office like mine in each of our states and some of our territories throughout the country, about 47, I think, total state offices. Those are actually being condensed down to 8 regional hubs, and so the offices are closing and staff are being laid off, and so we have the opportunity to reapply and go to the new regional hubs. Our regional hub for Iowa will be based out of Kansas City, Missouri, and that hub is scheduled to be set up in September of this year, so September of 2019. And so what that means for you guys is that your contact for your programs through AmeriCorps VISTA will be changing this year. Most likely myself and Vicki, I can't speak for Vicki, I can only speak for myself, most likely will not be going to Kansas City. And so you can predict that there will be some changes. We, of course, will keep you in the loop as to what those are as this year rolls forward. I cannot predict what the complete impact on VISTA programming will be for 2019, but there will be some changes, and there will be some changes as you guys move forward. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys are aware of that. There was a question that got brought up from our senior corps programs. This past fall, Dave was out on paternity leave, and I was actually on a detail in Washington, D.C. for about 3 months, and our portfolio was kind of farmed out to other state offices. That portfolio is now back in-house, and so Vicki and I are back to being your contacts. You don't need to be reaching out to Nebraska. I think Nebraska or North and South Dakota were the ones who were covering for us, or maybe Chicago, I can't remember. But you are back to reaching out to us, so there is no reason to include any of those other folks in communication. Those have turned back over in-house to kind of back to Iowa. So just wanted to make you guys aware of those pieces that are coming down the line for FY19. For right now, deadlines are still intact. Things are still going to be moving forward. You guys will all be going through a continuation application in 2019. That'll be coming out for the vast majority of you, not our operational grants, but for the vast majority, for 8 of you, those will be coming out probably February 1st, and that'll be a time to reassess your project. So I'll be walking you through that. We'll probably have another webinar, but no major changes to how you're doing business, and deadlines and all those things are set up. It's just kind of who your point of contact will be on this end. So any questions about that, we'll keep you guys abreast to information as it comes through, and as things change. There is some information out there right now on the transformation plan through nationalservice.gov if you want to learn more about that. There will be opportunities open, so if folks are looking for a job with CNCS, there will be some opportunities open. Denver, Kansas City, and Columbus, Ohio are our closest locations. So if you guys have anybody who would be interested in working for CNCS, those positions should be coming open after February, I think. So just a heads up. So any questions about the transformation plan or some of those big changes that'll happen in 2019 on our end as we move forward? All right, so the next question, just a review for 2019. This is slide 4 for those of you who were able to get that PowerPoint printed off. Hopefully folks got that and I didn't get too many rejections, I don't think. Just a heads up for that. So we are on slide 4. So just a review for 2019. The living allowance remains the same at $12,311. That was updated back in July of 2017, and so that remains steady for currently for the 2019 year. Any adjustments to that, we will keep you guys informed, but just wanted to make sure that you knew as of January that living allowance is the same amount. The education award, however, has increased. So effective in October of 2018, for anyone who started, any VISTA member who started after October 1st, the education award did increase from $5,920 to $6,095. So the education award, as you guys should know, actually follows the Pell Grant, and so when that increases, so does the education award. And so as of October 1st of 2018, that education award did go up. So for any member who started after October 1st, that will impact their education award. End of service stipend. So for our members who choose to take an end of service cash stipend in lieu of the education award, that end of service cash stipend remains at $1,800 for members and $3,000 for leaders. That increase happened in October of 2017. So it used to be $1,500 for a long stretch of time, and actually went up to $1,800 in the fall of 2017. So just making sure that folks are aware of that. The big change for 2019 is actually the relocation. For our members who are relocating for service over 50 miles, there is an increase that took effect on January 1st of 2019. So for any member who is relocating after January 1st of 2019, the relocation amount has adjusted. So the travel allowance, which is the mileage rate that they get, It has increased to 40 cents per mile. And the upper limit, so it used to be like 34 cents per mile and no more than $1,000 could they receive for the travel allowance or the mileage reimbursement. That actually has increased to 40 cents per mile, and that cap of 1,000 has been removed. So that travel allowance adjustment for basically it's their home of record, so where they're moving from to their service site is what we calculate that 50 miles on. In addition, the settling in allowance, so the settling in allowance is used to be $550. It actually will increase, has increased, not will, has increased to $750. The settling in allowance is an automatic payment on their first paycheck. It's really to help them with deposits and kind of get set up in the community. The travel allowance is a mileage reimbursement, and so that takes a little bit longer, 6 to 8 weeks, I believe, to process. Again, comes through direct deposit directly to them. But those are some big changes for 2019. So I wanted to make sure that folks were aware of that. I did send some information out about this through an email. I think it got distributed through serve.gov, but it's just kind of nice to folks to make sure that they understand that. I am currently updating our benefits, our little cheat sheet, Iowa benefits sheet. I just wanted to make sure they hadn't quite updated all the links on it yet, so I wanted to make sure that those were correct before I send it out. Yes, Nicole, there is an updated version of the What to Know Before Beginning Service in Iowa and the VISTA benefits for 2019. You're just one step ahead of me. Those are what I wanted to send out ahead of the call. However, as of yesterday, they hadn't updated some of the links, and so I was kind of holding off to make sure that I didn't have the wrong links in some of those resources for you, just to make sure that the links were viable. So I'm holding off on those for just a second, and then I never got back to it yesterday afternoon after our senior core meeting, so I apologize, but those are forthcoming. Member benefits, they are available online. So through the VISTA campus, there is a whole section on VISTA member benefits, and so wanted folks to know about that. Social Security and citizenship verification is still the e-verify process. If members are not cleared through that, then they do need to provide additional documentation before we will approve them for service. And so with the VMO, we've actually kind of shortened that deadline a little bit, and so wanted to make sure that folks are aware of that for Social Security and citizenship verification is through the e-verify process, and that is automatic through the system, through the e-grant system. But if additional information is needed, we will let you know. AmeriCorps health benefits continue as in past years. Under the Affordable Care Act, everyone is required to have health insurance. However, VISTA does provide some health benefits which are not considered insurance. And they are either the VISTA Healthcare Allowance or the AmeriCorps VISTA Health Benefits Plan for our folks. These are provided through IM Global, and our members do have to sign up for them. So this is something that is not an automatic benefit. They get notifications through their email that they do have to sign up for these benefits if they want them. However, these benefits do not meet the Affordable Care Act requirement for individual coverage, and so just making sure that folks are aware of that. That hasn't changed in years past, but just making sure that we continue on that track of what's going on there. So that's a quick review of those benefits for 2019. Any questions from slide 4 of those quick benefits? Again, through VISTA Campus, the benefits should be updating, specifically the relocation stuff. But I will be sending out updated what to know before beginning service. I will be sending out an updated Iowa VISTA benefits cheat sheet, as well as an updated nomination form. So there's a few things that are being currently updated, and there was a goal to get those out yesterday afternoon, but it just did not come to fruition. So I apologize for that. We're moving on to slide 5. And just a quick, again, overview for 2019. Outside employment, our members can have part-time employment. It is allowed. However, they cannot work for their sponsor or site. That has been the case since day one. And there is a form that does need to be completed and submitted to the national headquarters for that. So they are still tracking that. And so we want folks to make sure that that is still part of the process. That hasn't gone away. Teleservice, or basically working from home, it is allowable if your staff through your agency, through the sites that they're serving, are allowed to work from home. It must be pre-approved through you guys as well as through our office, and there is a form to complete, which is basically, because they are covered by workman's comp, they do have to have a form on file that basically says, you know, an assessment of their workspace when they're working from remotely. So just an FYI on that. More information again is available through the VISTA member campus for more detail. Just a reminder for those members who have disclosed criminal history, there is a form for that. And so that we must complete a criminal history justification form at the time of nomination. So if a member on their application has disclosed a criminal history, we do have to fill out an additional form for that, which can delay their nomination process. So I just want to make sure that folks are aware. If you do see an application, you've selected a candidate, it does not negate them from serving, but they do have to fill out additional documentation for that. So FYI there. Fingerprinting continues. So members and sites are responsible for making sure that our members get fingerprinted. There is a fingerprint kit that is sent out to folks ahead of time. It is actually, I send it to you as the project sponsor, and you disseminate those through your sites. And then the members should receive that kit on their first day. We do provide a UPS mailing label for you, so it should be at no cost to the project to mail those back in. UPS is the brown truck guys, not the United States Postal Service, so don't try to send it through the United States Postal Service. It will not get there. And so the headquarters has to be received by them within 30 days of the start date. So just a reminder there. The $25 reimbursement comes on the member's paycheck, and so that is a reimbursement for them to get the prints rolled. If it costs $10 for them to go to the police station and get their prints rolled, they make some money. If it costs $30, they're out $5. This is just a standard kind of set rate for how much it's just a flat rate reimbursement. So just a reminder to folks, for fingerprinting, it can take 8 to 10 weeks for those checks to come back. So if there is other background checks that sites require, that your sponsor requires for members, we do encourage you to do that. If you should receive a notification from VISTA or the state office saying they've cleared, basically. But other than that, typically if there's an issue, we contact you. If there's not, that's no news is good news sometimes. So just a reminder of that. Will VISTA be using FieldPrint and TrueScreen? A great question, Iowa Campus Compact. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, our AmeriCorps State as well as our Senior Corps programs have been introduced to new vendors through our National Service Criminal History Check process. And so they have FieldPrint is a FBI fingerprint vendor, and TrueScreen is a state and NSOPW vendor. We will not be using those for AmeriCorps VISTA. The NSOPW, which is the National Sex Offender Public Website Check, is still run in-house. I run those. Once you nominate a member, I actually do an initial NSOPW screen on all of our candidates. And so that is still being done in-house. And then the fingerprint checks are still being done through our contract with the FBI. And so we will not be using those vendors specifically. They are continuing the process as they have in the past. So no changes to how we will be doing fingerprinting. Good question, though. If you guys see that, there's some rumblings about TrueScreen and FieldPrint vendors for national service for AmeriCorps programs. VISTA has a different process for that. So just a clarification. Any other questions regarding these points for review of kind of things that you deal with or things that are going on from 2018 to 2019, or any other questions that I might not have a bullet point on that you're like, hey, Jancy, what about we heard this? Any questions from folks? All right. Hearing and seeing none, I'm going to move on to slide 6. Slide 6 is just a VISTA recruitment resources overview. So VISTA Campus has a lot of great resources out there for those of you who might have kind of come in during the FY18 recruitment season. There are some great recruitment resources through our VISTA Campus. So if you haven't checked them out yet, I do encourage you to do that. So the first bullet point is all recruitment resources. These resources consist of resources for our stages of our recruitment process, which we'll cover in a second, marketing resources, and then of course the My AmeriCorps and eGrant support resources that are available to folks. Recruitment planning resources that are available. Those include a VISTA recruitment checklist document, creating a recruitment plan worksheet, and a sample VISTA recruiting planning calendar. So those are some things to think about as you guys go into 2019 and develop some of this information. We want to make sure that folks are aware this takes time. It takes more time than most people think. And so we do want to make sure that you guys have resources to kind of start thinking and planning for 2019. There are some on-demand tutorials as well. So basically these are pre-recorded tutorials, great resources for folks. There's a plethora of supervisor webinars and tutorials out there for you, but a few things to look at specifically as it relates to recruitment is the crafting a compelling service opportunity listing. So that's learning how to make an engaging and complete service opportunity listing. So basically in your eGrants portal, you guys create a service opportunity listing for folks to apply for. It's how to do that and, creating snappy two-liners and teasers and things like that. So something for you guys to have available to you. And I do encourage you to review that if you haven't reviewed that for a while. Another one is writing a fabulous VAD or a VISTA assignment description. That is a great one to really review the key elements of an effective VAD and guide members that basically guide members to capacity building. And so really getting some details of the VAD, as the VAD is truly important to our VISTA experience, and we want to make sure that folks are utilizing those. A few other tutorials just to highlight are the Supervisor Circle, which is a focus on recruitment. It's kind of an interactive session that they had a guest speaker come in. And then there's also elements of a recruitment plan. So basically why to make a plan, why it's important, and taking the time up front to develop that really does save you time in the long run. And then another one is recruiting attractive, successful VISTAs. So some practices, best practices from other supervisors, what they've done to find the correct people. So that's always been a challenge, I think, for some of our programs here in Iowa, is we find candidates, but they're not quite the right fit. And so really, how do we do some targeting of where to find some good folks? So just a few things to check out on the on-demand tutorials available to you. So if you guys have some time, I do encourage you to, watch one of those a week for a while and sit down. I don't think that any of them are massively long, but they are helpful kind of to get through. As with any recording, of course, there's always the, hey, Jancy, the PowerPoint isn't coming through, so feel free to, you can kind of fast forward through some of that stuff. So be mindful of that. Any questions about VISTA recruitment resources available to folks? Check out the campus if you haven't. We do encourage you to do that. But any questions about resources? All right. So just another slide for us is slide 7. And this is the Iowa VISTA recruitment overview process. And so really what this screen shows is our stages of AmeriCorps VISTA recruitment. And so this is planning, marketing, screening, interviewing, and selecting. And so VISTA recruitment is a multi-step process, as you guys know who have gone through this. It can be both rewarding and challenging or frustrating. And we encourage you to utilize this set of examples of tasks to create a customized recruitment process that fits your structure and your policies. So obviously this is the stamped recruitment process. This is your plan that you guys need to use because all of you are different. All of you are looking for something different. All of you have different guiding principles through your sponsoring organizations. And some of you are working with other community partners. Some of you are just have an in-house VISTA program. So it really does vary from program to program. But for 2019, we do want you guys to pull out those plans that you've had in the past. Now is the time to do that. If you haven't developed a plan, we do encourage you to look at a plan for 2019. You should take some time now to develop that out. Assess what's worked well in 2018 and where improvements can be made or additional focuses might be needed. And so I know I always say this, and especially for new program project sponsors, I'm always like, recruitment takes time. And people are like, yeah, recruitment takes time. And until you actually get into it, it's one of those things where you're like, man, this takes a lot of time. So we do want to make sure that folks are taking some time, chunking out some time for this, because it can be a little overwhelming if you try to do it just in one sitting. So please be aware of that. The planning aspects of things really is where you're determining what you're looking for in a VISTA member. You're outlining steps that you're going to take for marketing and screening. You're creating some recruitment task lists and timelines. You're setting up tracking systems. You're identifying who's going to help you with this, what staff, what alums, things like that. For the marketing aspect of it, this is where you're going to advertise and publicize. This is how you're going to look at your VAD and how you're going to utilize that VAD to really reach out to potential candidates, where you're going to post those positions at. So in addition to using the My AmeriCorps or the eGrants portal aspect, where else are you going? And identifying strategies for potential candidates who match the knowledge, skills, and abilities that you're looking for. So this is really kind of some of the phases for that. During the screening process, you guys really need to think about finding out if those candidates are committed, making sure that there are some pre-screening activities, so a phone call and webinars, making sure folks are aware of what's happening. Narrowing your list of applicants, doing some interviewing, which is the next step, but really screening. Screening really starts kind of at the application process. So when you first get that application in, really what are you looking for? So kind of thinking about that, developing those systems. And then of course interviewing, picking what your questions are going to be, who's going to be in on those interviews, those types of things. Those things should be determined now versus, hey, we have an applicant, now what do we do with it? We do encourage you guys to look at that processes now and really kind of walk yourself through, okay, I have someone, this is what we did last year, this is what we've done in the years past, did that work well? Where can improvements be made? And then obviously the selection process and offering the position to the candidates. So, and then finally the onboarding and serving aspect of it, but that's a whole nother training. But for recruitment and overview, this is kind of the process that we look at. So we want to make sure that folks are kind of thinking about these things. These are little tidbits of information that will help you as you kind of look at recruitment and trying to find the right person for the right position. So I'm moving on to slide 8 now. So for the Iowa nomination process, this process has not changed really. We're moving to a VMO, so PSO, as you guys know it, pre-service orientation. The in-person training is actually has gone away, and VMO is now our only form to bring members on. Our nomination process has not changed for nominating a VISTA member. So in Iowa, what we've had in the past is we have an Iowa VISTA sponsor nomination form, which, as I said earlier, is being updated, and I'm actually changing it to just one page. So it's just going to be one page of information. Used to be 2. We do have a what to know before beginning service. This is something that is Iowa specific. So if you guys, as some things change and you're like, hey, what about the what to know before beginning service with the new staff person? This is something that we developed just as a checklist for you guys, a checklist for the members, making sure that they understand what they're getting into before they actually accept the position, so folks understand what it's about. So that's something we use specifically. Other states use it as well, but it is not an official VISTA form, if that makes sense. On-site orientation and training, that is site specific. So that is something that you guys do need to be creating. So once you get a member, once they start, kind of what you're going to be doing with those. So that's something we ask for during the nomination process, just so we know what you're going to be doing with those members. Typically when we talk to members, we get the complaint that our site didn't know what to do with us. We kind of didn't do anything for the first week. And so making sure that our sites are available and ready to take on members is key. And so again, planning for members to arrive is going to be key for that. And then, of course, the criminal history justification form. This is applicable only if they've disclosed something. So these are the 4 forms that we ask for outside of the portal, the eGrants portal. So these are kind of attachments in an email that we ask for. The sponsor nomination form is helpful for us so we understand. I mean, on that form, we ask who their contact, their emergency contact information is. So we have that on file. We ask, are they a cost share or a standard member? And then we cross-reference that with kind of where your grant's at, so you guys have some say in that. We also, are they relocating? Those types of things. So it's just a cross-reference point for us. We also want to make sure that you're nominating, we have them in the system. Sometimes members forget to log back in and accept the nomination in the system, and so if we're missing someone, we want to make sure that it's there. So that's what that cross-reference is for. Within the eGrants portal, again, process hasn't changed. So the member's going to complete their application. That's going to be submitted through us. There's going to be 2 completed references. There's going to be a sponsor evaluation. So that's actually where you guys fill out if you reject or accept the candidate. And then the VAD, the VISTA assignment description, is attached, as well as the E-Verify process for citizenship and Social Security is verified through the process. So just a few key points to review for these things. You're going to start your review and interview selection process in advance of the actual due date for the VMO. So the nomination due date is about 4 days now, 4 days prior to the actual placement of a member. So our members have to be placed by a certain deadline. We want those nominated ahead of time so I can run the NSOPW, we can do a screening, we can make sure we have everything. That's shortened significantly from previous years, so we have about 4 days to get that done from nomination to actual placement. So don't wait until the last minute to start your screening of your candidates. The nomination deadlines that you guys have for the VMOs are at close of business. It does take about 48 hours to have their candidate citizenship and Social Security verified. In addition, sometimes NSOPWs, those take a while. Sorry, public sex offender registry checks take a while. And so there's going to be little wiggle room between nomination and enrollment in previous years. For references, references can be overridden in the system, and so don't just override this. Make sure you complete it. You can override a reference. So members have or candidates have the opportunity to select certain nominees for a sponsor evaluation, not a sponsor evaluation, sorry, for a reference check for them. And so sometimes those people don't do it online, and so you can actually override that. You do need to have something to back that up. So an email, a letter of reference on file, something. We want to make sure that those references have been checked and we have something in the system or on file that we can cross-reference to they do approve them or they do think that they would be a good candidate. So if you do have that, please leave a detailed note about kind of something they said or what was discussed, not just I overrid this, they weren't available. So we want to make sure that there's some notes in there because this is the official application packet. Your VADs, your VISTA assignment descriptions, do need to be entered prior to selecting a member. So again, something not to wait until the last minute to do. Upload those VADs for 2019. This will come for those of you who are going to go through the continuation process early. We're going to be kind of going through the VADs, reviewing the VADs. Your VADs should evolve and change. We're going to talk about this a little bit more later on in this session, but now is the time to start assessing kind of what 2019 will look like. Sorry, I'll get the word out eventually. And so VADs are going to have to be entered ahead of time. So just be mindful of that because if you go to nominate a member, that VAD's not uploaded, it delays the whole process. So we're going to try to make sure we put some stop gaps in there to make sure that doesn't happen this year. But it is ultimately up to you guys to upload those. The disclosed criminal history, as I said earlier, this does require additional steps, and so if they do disclose something, please make sure that you are asking for that criminal history justification form as folks move forward. Just a reminder, for our service opportunity listings, service opportunity listings. If you have those in the system and they're approved, that does not mean that they are still accepting applications. So if you go into your eGrants portal and you look at your posting and you're like, oh, it's been approved, it's fine. They actually take it down after the date of accepting applications until passes. So once you create your listing, you determine you're going to be accepting applications until a specific date. Once that date passes, the system automatically pulls it down. So just be mindful of that. A lot of times people, or what we encourage people to do, is set that deadline for a specific VMO, and then just make sure that that posting is up to date. So if that date has passed, people can't apply to the opportunity, and we want to make sure that folks have that opportunity. So just be mindful of that as you guys move through this. So that is the VISTA process review, our nomination review process. So any questions kind of about the nomination process? I think most of you have gone through this before. I know we have some folks who kind of joined us in the middle of last year, but I think everybody's kind of gone through the nomination process. No big changes, but this is kind of the process for Iowa, is how we do things. So hopefully that made a little bit of sense. Any questions about the process itself? There is a question that came in. Do members do all the VMO orientation except the oath of service before their start date, or on site after they start? Kaylee, that is a great question, and that actually leads us to slide 9. So thank you for my leading question. So the VMO, the virtual member orientation, is a self-directed online orientation that introduces VISTA members to their terms, their conditions, and benefits of service, and key programming principles at the start of their service. So the VMO for FY19 and moving forward, VMO will be our only option for VISTA member placement. The AmeriCorps VISTA training unit is no longer supporting in-person pre-service orientation, and so the complete VMO calendar was originally sent out in the beginning of December, so December 10th. So if you guys haven't gotten that, please let me know, but that email was sent. So this is a self-directed online VMO. It is a multiple tiered process. So to answer your question, Kaylee, there is some stuff they have to do before their start date, there's some stuff they have to do on their start date, and there is stuff they have to do throughout their service term. So it is a multi-tiered process. The oath of service is actually administered on the first day during the Launching Your VISTA Service webinar. So that is a webinar that they do have to attend on their first day of service. And so that is a requirement. However, there is stuff that they have to do prior to, and then there's also ongoing stuff that they have to do as well. So on the VISTA campus, starting VISTA service, it kind of walks members as well as our supervisors through what the VMO experience is. So and just a few key things there. Members report to service site on their first day, so they will need an access to a computer, obviously, to be on this webinar. They are required to attend 2 real-time webinars. The Launching Your VISTA Service is one. Launching VISTA Service is at 3 p.m. Eastern Time on the VMO start date. So February 19th is our next VMO, which is actually a Tuesday because there's a holiday on the 18th. So February 19th, there is a set Launching Your VISTA Service webinar at 3 p.m. Eastern, so 2 p.m. our time. And so you guys can always account for that. On the first day, there's going to be a webinar that afternoon. In addition, and that is a real-time webinar. So that's where they do the oath. That's where they kind of walk through stuff. That's a live webinar that they will attend. The other real-time webinar that they do need to attend is the Countdown to VISTA Service. This takes place about a week prior to their start date. And so this is something that they do need to attend. Again, it's called Countdown to VISTA Service, and it's about a week prior to the start date. And so that is something, again, a real-time webinar that they do need to make sure that they attend. So basically, in addition to that, prior to coming to VISTA to the first day, sorry, I'm getting a little skibbobbled here. There is some paperwork that they have to fill out. There's a lot of information that they have to do prior to. That is covered in emails as well as this countdown to VISTA service. There's the terms and conditions webinar. It's an on-demand tutorial. Actually, I guess I shouldn't say webinar, an on-demand tutorial that they have to take. So there's a few things that they do have to do prior to coming. After they've started, so after they're launching into your VISTA service, they're going to go through on-site orientation with you guys that you've developed. But there's also some early coursework sessions that members can take at their own pace. So there's nothing that says these need to be completed by this date, but sites should be checking in with members about their orientation and making sure that they are taking those. There's nothing from our end, which is kind of weird. There's nothing from our end that we can track that, but it's just making sure that they are doing that. So that would be at you guys' discretion to do that. The website, the Vista Campus Starting Vista Service website, does have a quick one-page orientation checklist that I encourage you to print off and look at, share with your site supervisors and your members. So it is something that kind of walks you through what is done, what needs to be done ahead, what needs to be done on the day of, and then those early coursework sessions as well. So it's all available to you. It's through the campus, but I do encourage you guys to kind of look at that and make sure that you understand that. A few things with VMO that will be a little different from PSO. So obviously VMO is this self-directed, it's online. There are some capacities that our candidates and our members do have to have in order to participate in VMO. So there is a capacity that they do have an English proficiency, including reading, writing, and understanding spoken and written English. So because of all the trainings are done in English, that is going to be a proficiency that will need to be needed. Ability to communicate verbally, so speaking and hearing is something that the VMO obviously to participate in has to have at this particular juncture. Basic proficiency and comfort using a computer and internet technology. That is something that we've had challenges in the past with. Members weren't as computer savvy as they thought. And so basic proficiency with computer and internet access needs to be a capacity that they have. And of course, access to a computer with reliable internet connectivity prior to their service start date. So everything's online now. So sometimes if a member does not have their own computer, being available for them to come in and work on some stuff ahead of time might be needed, or directing them to some resources where they might be able to get on a computer at the library, those types of things. For folks who do not have these capacities, reasonable accommodations can be requested through our VISTA training unit, and we take those on an individual basis. So I'm not sure what the workarounds are for those, because I quite honestly have not dealt with them yet. But I do know that they are available if we need them. So just a few things that you guys are aware of. Your worksite technology, so you want to make sure that they have access to a computer, high-speed internet access, telephone, to be able to be part of these webinars, and ensure that your IT system is allowing the VISTAs to attend through, I think it's Skype Business and Cisco, but I believe that's changed recently. That's what my notes say, but I believe that we've actually went through a different platform now for our webinars. So we shall see as that changes. But this will be a different process for orientating your members. So for folks who might not have gone through VMO in the past, it is something that is a little different. They don't go to an actual physical PSO. They're not quite interacting. I mean, PSOs are like 200 people. There's a lot of interaction and mixing of folks. And so members have always, not always, but most of the time have a very positive PSO experience. They've enjoyed it. It was a great opportunity to kind of kick off their service. This is a little different because it's really, a lot of times they're by themselves at their site. And so it is something that's going to be a little different for folks. We do encourage site supervisors to also attend the launching of your VISTA service webinar, just so they understand what's been discussed with the members. They understand what the members have heard during that webinar, and they understand what needs to happen. There is also the oath of service that needs to be administered, and so they do have to sign off on that as well. So there is a a witness that takes place. And so just be mindful that that is something that your site supervisors or someone needs to be sitting in with folks on for as they go through the VMO process. So again, check out the campus, check out the checklist, and just kind of make sure that you guys understand this VMO, virtual member orientation process. It's going to be a little, the orientation itself will be different. You'll need to have a pretty robust on-site orientation. There might be a lot more questions about VISTA itself that come up. For those of you with leaders, you can rely on your leaders to kind of answer some of those questions. If I have any leaders on the phone, this is something you guys should be prepared for. But for those of you who don't, just kind of understanding where you can direct your members to resources through the campus, or as well as the state office or the regional hub moving forward. So any questions about the VMO itself and kind of what it is? So hopefully, Kaylee, that answers your question. Specifically, everything's outlined, but there are some things that they have to do before, on, and after their first day. So any other questions about kind of the VMO itself? All right, we're going to move on to slide 10. Slide 10 is our recruitment timeline. So this was actually sent out, as I said, at the beginning of December. February 19th is our next VMO start with a nomination deadline of January 28th. So I'm going to use that as an example as I kind of walk through this. The deadlines are listed, and the nomination deadline is by the end of the business day. So if we get everything in by January 28th by close of business, 5 o'clock that day, that means I can start looking at it. And the process has already started. It's already started to kick in the e-certify process and all that fun stuff that evening. So I start looking at it by the 29th. I review every application that comes in. We run an NSOPW, National Sex Offender Public Website check. For those of you who've ever worked with the NSOPW, sometimes it's down, sometimes things aren't reporting, so sometimes it takes a little while. If there are any hits that comes back, then I do have to go through and verify that the candidate that you guys have is not the person that's actually listed. If there's any questions about that, of course you get a call. And then we have to have them placed by Friday. So I have to have them, so our nomination deadlines are typically for the VMOs on a Monday close of business. By Friday, they have to be enrolled in the system, which basically means I have to clear them. I have to run their initial background check, and then I have to place them in the event. And so that has been shortened. For those of you who have been with me in the past, we've always had a little bit more wiggle room from nomination to my review to the placement deadline. And so the nomination deadline listed here is when you need the information to me. And then I have an internal deadline when I have to have them in the system to make sure that they are counted in that VMO. And so that is the placement deadline for me internally. That is not listed for you guys, but just so you know, typically the nomination deadline is on Monday and my placement is on Friday. As in previous years, each of our programs in Iowa will be invited to recruit for certain VMOs. So our state kind of builds out our recruitment plan as well. We develop a MSY chart, so a member service year chart, to project our VISTA production. So we have goals that we have to reach, and so we actually build out a recruitment plan for how many members we're going to recruit in each of these VMOs. The state office designs this plan based on the number of current members we have, when those current members will be terming, and then kind of how many members we have in the pipeline, how many haven't been placed, how many we're going to create new with new projects. So there's this whole kind of equation that we use to come up with this. And then we basically send out a notice to you and say, okay, Kaylee, we have your members. Actually, I think all of your members are in July. So your members that you currently have on board are scheduled to end in July, all of them. And so for 2019, we're going to place all of your members in July in 2019 as well. And so you're going to know which VMO you should be recruiting for. That is coming out We're building that now, but it's pretty simple. If you have members who are ending in July, you most likely will have members starting in July. And so that's kind of the easiest way for you to look at how or when you're going to be recruiting for folks. So just be mindful of that. Those invitations will be coming, and so this really helps us build out when we can project kind of what our projections will be for VISTA production in 2019. We do want our programs to work hard to recruit for those scheduled VISTA virtual member orientations, because that does kind of play a key role in when we produce and how we produce our VISTA production. So we want to make sure that you are shooting for that and well equipped to do that. So the VMOs are limited in capacity. So just so you know, VISTA training unit does have a limit, a cap on those, and they are on a first come, first served basis. So if you tell me on January 28th, oh, hey, Jancy, we have a nomination coming in, they'll be here, we'll get it to you as soon as we can, and I don't have anything, within a couple days, I cannot guarantee that we can get them into the VMO, because we might meet a cap on that. So I just want to make sure that folks understand that. Of course, I try my hardest, and I fight very hard to make sure anyone I have in my roster gets into an event. But we just want to make sure that you guys are aware that those are some of the challenges that come with the VMOs. So just be mindful of that. Any questions about the VMO process, about the timelines, about how this may be different from previous years? More information will be coming on which VMO you should be focused on recruiting for, that we want you to recruit for. We do provide this information as a general information so you guys know what the dates are. So if you do have someone, for instance, Kaylee, I'm picking on you because you're the last one who gave me a chat. If Kaylee is scheduled to place everybody on July 8th and she has all of her candidates in, and then someone between when they said yes to when the actual VMO starts backs out. It's common. It happens. Not common, but it happens. And so she's like, all right, Jancy, now what do I do? Well, she already knows in front of her, okay, we have somebody, we have another July event or we have an August event. And so she can kind of already know when she can place if she has someone in her pipeline already. And she can come to me and say, all right, so Jane Doe backed out, but John Doe is ready to go. Can we get him into the, July 22nd event? And so this is just for your information, so you guys are well informed about what is available to you. So I just want to make sure that folks are aware of that. We don't want you saying, oh, I didn't recruit for June, so maybe I'll recruit for August. Maybe that'll work. We don't want that. We want you guys to really work with us once we send out what VMO you're scheduled for. If you do have questions or concerns about it at that time, let us know, but we do want to try to make sure we're building this out properly. So any questions about timeline or recruitments for those aspects? All right, slide 11. This is our VAD resources. So the VADs, or the VISTA assignment descriptions, you will need to update these each year. So for 2019, you will need to delineate from 2018. So your members should not be doing the same thing. They should be building upon what your members currently are doing, and you should be really looking at how this VAD is going to build upon that. For most of you, as I said earlier, your continuation applications will be due, and this is a great time for you to kind of reflect upon how changes are going to be built from 2018 to 2019. So be mindful of that. Most of you have a memorandum of agreement with CNCS that ends in May. There's 2 of you who don't. And so I will be sending out continuation application guidance around end of January, beginning of February, and that'll be due beginning of April. And so we have time to get that stuff processed before your MFA ends. So we want to make sure that folks are aware of that. Your VADs specifically are the foundation for which your VISTA member experience is built. And so from recruitment to managing your members to evaluating your members, the VAD is a key instrument in doing that. The VAD is both a position description and a work plan. It can be used for recruiting purposes and tracking VISTA performance. So it is a key resource that is very important. I think sometimes we skim over it more than we should here in the state. And so I do want folks to be spending some time on your VAD and making sure that the VADs are clear as to how they are building capacity and sustainability. All of you have been sponsors for at least a year, almost at least a year by this point. And so for 2019, for the next round, you definitely will have had members on for a year. And so the VAD should include a poverty mission. So there should be a poverty mission of the project. They should have activities that clearly show how VISTA members will build capacity. And they should be building upon the previous years. We're not going to dive a lot into these, but I do want to make sure that you guys have the resources available to you. The Creating Effective VAD tutorial, again, is something to check out. There are blank VAD templates out there as well as sample VADs, so you guys can have an idea of what CNCS feels is a basic VAD that you guys can have. So again, the VAD should be full for a year. They should be able to depict what the members will be doing and keeping them busy for 40 hours or more a week. And so we want to make sure that you guys are looking at those. So now is the time to kind of start assessing your VADs and looking at where changes and improvements can be made. So check out the VAD resources. We'll probably circle back to this, but wanted to make sure that folks are aware of those that are out there. Any questions about VADs? All right. Screening tips and tools. So screening applicants begins from the point of first contact and continues during the interview process and completed once you have checked the applicant's references and that they are cleared through CNCS criminal history check process. Through the screening ensures that applicants qualify for VISTA service, will persist throughout the service year, and will be a good fit for your community and your organization. So screening is important. Screening resources are available through our VISTA campus. Interviewing resources are available through our VISTA campus. Selection resources are available through our VISTA campus. We want to make sure that folks are utilizing these, reviewing these, being prepared for 2019. There's many factors that help determine whether an applicant recruited either nationally or locally is suited for the VISTA position. There are some selection criteria, and I'm going to go through a few things that you do need to understand that VISTA members do have to have. So our applicants must meet a minimum standard of eligibility in order to serve with our program. And so they have to be at least 18 years of age upon entering the VISTA training. So there is no upper age limit for AmeriCorps VISTA, but they do have to be at least 18 years of age. They do have to be a U.S. citizen or a lawful permanent resident. Have lawful permanent resident status, They cannot be listed on the National Sex Offender Public Registry, which is something that I check, or have any convictions of sex-related crimes. They must be willing to submit their fingerprints for a criminal history background check. In the position, they have to understand that it is a full-time, 1 year commitment regardless of regular working hours. We've ran into this a little bit this last year for some reason. We've had some members who don't think that they have to work full-time. So I want to make sure that that is very clear moving into 2019, that our projects do have our members serving full-time. By federal standard, we define full-time as 40 hours. However, if your site has a 37.5 hour work week for your full-time staff, that is how you will define full-time. So you just want to make sure that full-time is something members understand, or potential candidates understand. Our applicants' standards of eligibility, they must be able to relate previous education, training, military, or work experience, and demonstrate that they have relevant skills and interests necessary to perform the specific VISTA assignment. So that will be through their application. They must be willing and to the maximum extent practical live amongst the economic level of the low-income people that they are serving through the VISTA program. So as you guys know, our living allowance is based on a poverty rate. There's no really negotiation on that, and so that is something that you'll need to make sure that they understand. They understand that, oh, I just said that, full-time and non-negotiable. You do want to make sure that candidates are engaged from the screening process to the selection process. One of the most frustrating things is you submit an application and you never hear back from them, ever. That's true for any job, but for VISTA specifically. So if you do have a candidate who submits an application, please keep engaged with them from the time of application to the time of, if you do select them for an interview. One of the biggest dead zones is really from selection time to service time, and so we want to make sure that folks are engaging with members through that time. So that dead zone is also a time when a lot of members do withdraw from the program because they don't know what's going on, and so we do want to make sure that that's still kind of part of the process, and so keeping folks engaged during that time is key. So any questions about screening tips or tools or things that folks want to add in here for screening? All right. So our next slide, slide 13, are just things to consider before nominating your VISTA candidate. Obviously, your references, each VISTA member should have, or each candidate should have at least 2 references complete. We do encourage those to be professional references, not personal references, but that is, there's no regulation against that, but those references do need to be complete. Employment, previous employment, past job experience that may be relevant, those are things to consider. Education, matching an applicant's academic background with the sponsor's specific needs is highly desirable. You guys get to set that. Typically in VISTA, we say some college is a requirement, or what we're looking for, and I guess I shouldn't say requirement, is what we're looking for. But you guys get to say if you want someone with a master's degree, and so moving forward. We also look at military, you should also look at military status and community service and volunteer activities. Their motivational statement is definitely something to review and consider on their application, why they're interested in VISTA, and then of course their readiness to serve. One of the things that I say is VISTA is a great program, but sometimes it's not for everyone. So really gauging if the applicant is truly ready to serve in VISTA for the full year, that they understand that it is a full-time commitment, the breadth of the benefits and kind of what that means, and then that if they are relocating, the housing situation is always kind of comes up. Please keep in mind, for those of you who might have not have interviewed with folks in the past, it is not appropriate to ask about medical issues or about children or dependents. Those are illegal questions. And so while those play a part in kind of who we are as an individual, those need to be not questions that you ask of our candidates. So any questions about things to consider before nominating a VISTA candidate? All right. Slide 14 really just talks about VISTA on-demand trainings. They sometimes do real-time sessions for our VISTA supervisors. As of Friday, there were none scheduled. However, beginning of the year, I think the VISTA training unit is looking back at those. So that is something to keep an eye on. But if you go to VISTA Campus, there's a supervisor section on webinars. So I do encourage you guys to check out the webinars that are available to you and keep you posted on those. Through the state, we will probably be having a few more webinars like this as we move forward, specifically on the continuation applications coming up. Probably I'm trying to do a VAD session as well to make sure that those are strengthened this year, and then just regular check-ins as we move forward. So if you guys do have any questions about those, please let me know. But I do encourage you guys to check those out. And then our final slide for today is just our contact information. The Iowa State Office, ia@cns.gov is our email for the office. So it's an email that Vicki and I both have access to. And then our general line is listed there. I also gave you my email address and my desk phone. In addition, I have also listed my mobile phone here because of some of the upcoming changes. That will be an important number to have moving forward. Vista Campus is a great resource. If you guys have not checked it out yet, I encourage you to do that, as well as the VISTA or the AmeriCorps website, our national service website. There's some good resources out there for you as well. Just a reminder, changes to our office for 2019 should not slow your recruitment. So please continue to focus on your recruitment as you guys move forward. Keep engaged with the process. If you have questions, please ask as we move forward. Recruitment does take time. It does take more time than you initially anticipate, but recruit early, recruit often, and stay engaged in the process. Those are my best tips for you guys for recruitment for 2019 to be successful. If you guys do have any questions, please let me know. I'm the best point of contact. That's why I listed me there for any recruitment questions specifically. So please let me know if you guys have any questions as we move forward. If you guys do have a posting that's pending, drop me an email. I try to check that at least once a day these days, but sometimes if I check it in the morning and you guys submit it in the afternoon, it gets off my radar, so I apologize. But one of the things with our office moving forward, we are, of course, short-staffed and going through all of these fun changes and closing down an office. So if you don't hear from us within 48 hours, please feel free to send another gentle reminder that says, "Hey, Jancy, did you forget about me?" I did not. I'm not ignoring you. I might have answered you in my head. I've been doing that a lot lately. I might have missed the email completely. So I apologize in advance, but feel free to send those gentle reminders of, "Hey, I haven't gotten a response to this." So not ignoring, might have just flaked. I apologize. Any questions about recruitment before we log off today? Any final questions from you guys? Any tips or tools that folks want to share with others about, hey, in 2018, you guys should really check out this fantastic resource. We got some great candidates from it. Anything you guys want to add? All right. I thank you all for your time today. I think hopefully this was helpful as kind of a refresher in going through things. Hopefully you guys will have a better understanding of the process. The updated what to know and the nomination forms and all that fun stuff will be coming shortly, so keep an eye out for those things in the coming weeks, and I will send those out as they are available. As we learn more about the transformation plan, you guys will be kept in the loop for that, so please let me know if you guys do have any questions as we move forward. So this does conclude our Iowa AmeriCorps VISTA recruitment webinar for today, January 9th. Thank you all for your